Hey guys, this is those guys with our extended opening of Chala Head Chala. I am Matt Marrero, and I'm here along with Tristan Walter. Is it you, Tristan? Or is it the meta version of you?
What? Wait, what?
Is it metal version of you, or is it just you?
Oh yeah. It's Meta Tristan. It's Meta Tristan now. I killed the other.
Yep.
I killed the original. I took his place.
Yeah, if you can hear, he sounds a bit nasally. It's just the reverb. It's just he isn't sick at all. He's metal. Yes, we played that. I feel this because it's a great transition. Because the way I feel is all the movies played on Tsunami at one point or another. But I think the first few were long enough for it to be kind of fresh and new. And I don't know about you, but by the time these last two movies, both Cooler movies hit, I stopped watching them on Tsunami.
Yeah,
Right?
I think I saw the first Cooler movie on Tsunami. I don't know if I saw the second one or not. I can't remember actually.
Yes, but I can tell you for sure that I didn't, and it's very interesting. And maybe there's others out there as well, because we kind of got older, and it just, I don't know, they stopped feeling like events to me. And it's not that I got a life or anything, because I'm still a homebody who watched a lot of, other, anime and other, cartoons and stuff. But it's just, we got a bit older, and all of a sudden, we could get them on DVD. It for some reason, for me, it became a lot easier to just find the DVD, right?
Yeah,
or to just, not to see it on the internet, not yet. But to at least find the DVD was a lot easier too. Or in this case, actually, my dad, he ended up getting me the entire set. They were actually fan subs, but they were on VCDs, which are still technically CDs. But either way, VCDs, and they had, all the movies on them, each and every one.
Uh-huh.
So I saw this in its original Japanese form, but it was funny because it was fan subs. And now that I know anyway, that I'm older, that these fans really thought that Dragon Ball Z was for adults, So these fan subs are so infamous for having things like, "Hey, shut the fuck up, you fuck."
Oh
this
my
is,
God, really?
Yeah. What? Yeah. That's the thing. Where it's just if you know about that famous Vegeta line from I think it was from Wrath of the Dragon, where he's just cursing up a storm. It's because of that that fan sub that was just
oh
"Damn
God,
you motherfucker." Yeah, that one. That's because of the fan sub.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very funny. But so anyway, but that's what we're talking about right now. Today we're talking about the return of Cooler, a return that didn't really need to happen. You could have stayed dead, Cooler, but sadly you had to return and ruin your legacy. Actually, before we jump to the film, I would like to. We made an error last week. I'm pretty sure that we mentioned that there was no Dr. Slump anime series, or at the very least, it has never been brought over to the States. But there were actually two Dr. Slump anime series, and they were actually about as long as Dragon Ball.
Oh wow.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. There were two animes, right? One that was from 1981 to 1986, and it spanned 243 episodes. Then the second one that ran from 1997 to 1999 lasted 74 episodes. And there's also have been 11 movies, animated films. And actually, if you're looking to purchase them in the U.S., Discotek Media recently acquired the first 5 Dr. Slump films, and they will be releasing them in Japanese with English subtitles July 29th, 2014.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. So, if you're a Akira Toriyama fan, definitely jump into that. I know I will. And, yeah, but actually getting back to the movie itself, this movie came out in March 1992, right? Which is funny because, the movie before it came out in, It came out January 22nd, right? So you're thinking January, February, March. 2 months. Actually, wait, I'm so sorry. Wrong date here. It actually came out in July. Very interesting. So then this movie actually was a huge gap, if you think about it. Because most of the movies have been a few months here and there. This made a jump from July 20th, 1991, right, Cooler's Revenge, to The Return of Cooler, coming out March 7th, 1992.
Huh. Yeah,
that's actually very interesting.
Pretty big gap between the movies, considering.
And the reason why I bring this up, and the reason why it's actually very interesting and intriguing to see, is because in the film, you remember the flashback.
Yeah.
Right? The flashback to Cooler's death, right?
Right.
Nowadays, right, after being able to, let's say, marathon the films, then of course the creators didn't think about being able to marathon films at the time. I mean, you're releasing them in theaters and whatever, and there was VHS, but now we can just download anything, at the snap of our hands. So we have this movie, and it has that flashback, and I thought, wow, really? I mean, we just saw, he died. I mean, we know that he died. But now when you look at the dates, and you see, wait a minute, this is almost a year. Like, maybe kids didn't know. Kids needed a reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also this movie came out, theatrically came out at the Toei Anime Fair, which is actually, it was shown along with the second Dragon Quest movie and the third magical Taruruto-kun movie. We're back to the magical Taruruto-kun. Remember him? Oh, it was like 2 movies ago. No one cared. But, there was a third movie, and it aired with it for some reason. And from the looks of it, I assume that now I don't know how long some of these, specials were, but it's very interesting because you look at the Return of Cooler, right? Return of Cooler is 46 minutes long. So you're thinking, damn, how long did these other films have to be to cover a 2-hour? Did they think that kids could sit there for 2.5 hours?
Oh, God.
I mean, I don't know how that works, but hey, good for them, And then we saw it, in America. This movie came out August 13th, 2002. So about 10 years later, that's when we got it. And yeah, I mean, moving forward, actually, moving away from some of the, background stuff in the film. I mean, a lot. I know you're not a big fan of this movie, at least compared to the original one.
Yeah.
And I'll admit, it does. If we didn't, okay. Which is something I don't usually like to do, but if we had to rate it compared to, it's not even compared to its, original, but in a way that, you say, oh, how were both films? Like, how were, both Cooler films together? This falls into the bad sequel cliche.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's bad on its own, but it's not a good follow-up, I feel.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
Yes. I will say, though, I mean, it was nice, it's the first movie to feature Namek, though. So there were a few different things here and there that make you think, oh, this is cool. First movie to feature Namek.
We
had both. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
It
still had its cool points, so.
Yes. Well, I was saying, not only did we have a Dende cameo, but we even had a Vegeta appearance. The first one, in movie form, mind you. First Vegeta appearance. Does it matter? Pretty much. I mean, when you have a Super Saiyan, it matters when you have another Super Saiyan. Yeah.
Yeah,
also,
I don't know. Should we make a point of that Vegeta doesn't appear until he's a Super Saiyan?
No, if only because, I mean, here's the thing. Think about it like this. They've never really, even in this movie, his introduction didn't seem that organic. So in the other movies, it would have seemed like it couldn't have been organic. I mean, heck, he wasn't around for the first movie. The second and third, where he was an antagonist, right? And then the fourth, he was still technically an antagonist because Goku was supposed to be, kind of flirting with the powers of a Super Saiyan, but not truly achieving them yet. And then the fifth film, he wasn't an antagonist anymore, but again, canon, so it would be really weird to fit him. And also, I have to say, if you threw in Vegeta, it would have made the fight with the original Cooler very easy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Just
so I think this was a really good one, but I think the problem is because you had to have 2 Super Saiyans, they had to make Cooler too powerful. I don't know if it's just me, but Metacooler felt too strong. Not even in the way that you think, oh, the heroes are in trouble. No, it's like main character hacks. That's what I'm saying, right? It felt as if he just, if I had looked at the writer, who's still Takao Koyama, by the way, who's written the first 5 films, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a pen name for Kite Kubo.
Oh, God.
Where it's just whatever someone is about to one-up the other one, nope. It's just, actually, I've had this power for years. It's just one of those things where it felt as if whenever someone was about to hurt the other one, nope, bam. It's just where like you look at Goku's instant transmission, right, which is great, by the way. I love it. And then Cooler goes, "Oh yes, it's my favorite technique."
One of your favorites?
Yes. Oh, okay. Granted, it made a great scene. That was an amazing, battle of, not even wits, just battle of powers. But at the same time, it just, again, if Takao Koyama is Tite Kubo by night, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be either.
No. Also something interesting, I don't know, because I was looking this up. The director for this movie is actually the same director from the first 3 Dragon Ball Z films.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny because, again, not the writer, the director, which is very interesting because now I'm thinking, I'm like, maybe they thought, we're doing more of, kind of like, a new planet with, like, vegetation and this and that. And I'm wondering if they kind of wanted him on it. Because if you notice, the first 3 films, have a lot of, I guess, I don't know how to say the word, grass. I know it sounds silly, but it has a lot of, exterior scenes. Yes, a lot to do with nature. And also, he even actually supervised the first Cooler film, but he wasn't an actual director for it. But he's also, it's kind of funny, he's worked on, he's also worked on the show One Piece. He's worked on, some of the Dr. Slump films and series, as well as, like I said, the first 3 Dragon Ball Z films. He's even worked on Powerpuff Girls Z on the storyboard. This man has done a lot for Toei, is the point. He's worked a lot with Toei. His name is Daisuke Nishio. So apparently he's done a lot, but, with them. But anyway, moving forward, to talk about the movie itself. It was the first feature, if you notice, to feature obviously other movies have featured the whole cast, right? But this is the first one to feature them for for the entire film. How did you feel about that?
Instead of just having like a small cameo here and there.
Yes, exactly. How did you feel about that?
Well, it was cool to see them in the movie, but it also just kind of begged the question, like, why the fuck are they there? Right. Well,
the question, the answer to that question is actually quite simple. They were there for comic relief.
Yeah, pretty much.
now the problem or solution to some comes, was there too much comic relief? How do you feel about that?
Well, okay, I feel like that was basically their, like, Master Roshi, Yajirobe, Oolong. Even Krillin gets it a lot still too. I figured, they have some of the other characters there, so they could be more of the comic relief. Maybe Krillin will get a chance to, really show his stuff. Nope, still made fun of. And the best part of it is, even Krillin's in on the joke.
Yes. It's I remember the dub. There's actually a line that I quoted myself. I'm sure it's the line you're thinking of as well. It's just, it's like, I hate to, talking about the robots, and personally, I feel like everyone was made to look way too weak against these robots. And Krillin even says, I hate to say it, but I'm glad it's not just me.
Yeah, there's
and
that
you're
one.
There thinking, I'm happy for you, Krillin.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really happy for you, man.
And then the other line that he does is, Piccolo says, just focus your attack, and, you can pierce through their armor, which, okay, it's, all right, I could go for that. So then Krillin goes, all right, well, they can do it, and he charges, and he's just about to hit him, and then he gets an elbow to the face, and he goes, no, didn't think so.
Yeah.
Granted, he gets the attack through afterwards, but still, it's like, even Krillin's in on it now.
No, that's true. I will admit, I do believe that they, even Gohan and Krillin, they were made to look way too weak against these robots. Where it makes you think, so then they really can't even kind of look in Cooler's direction without exploding. Which is an issue, because I understand Goku's the main character. That's obvious. But there are other people involved where it's just, if they can't even fight the goons, come on. Like, this is, and it's funny because the same thing happened in the last film, but at the very least, what saved it in a way. Well, first off, Piccolo, it's kind of funny. Piccolo is always the tactician, I think, who is able to just destroy something. It happened in the last movie where he took out some of the goons as well that, everyone else couldn't really handle. But one thing is, I'll say this, at least in the last movie, what kind of gave you that oomph and that pizzazz and that fun were, Cooler's Armored Squadron. And I think it made you feel like, oh, this is really fun, and they had lines. Now they're just robots. And I think it really detracts from, really getting invested in the film. Granted, I like sci-fi, and I know you do as well. Sci-fi is awesome. And the sci-fi, not even undertones, the sci-fi tone of this movie was really nice. But it just thinks that, when you look at the cast list and you see who's there, it's pretty much every normal, everyone who's supposed to be there, and then Cooler.
Yeah.
It feels as if there's a bit of originality that isn't there, which is upsetting because, we've had a lot of characters being introduced. We've had, even look at Turles and his, I'll call them the Merry Band of Men. We have him, we have Cooler with his squadron. I mean, we've even had, Garlic Jr. and then his first few henchmen, not the Spice Boys, the first few. Even World's Strongest, we had Dr. Wheelo with, his mechanical human beings, cyborg androids. So it was nice. We had something each and every time. But in this one, it was just, nope, robots.
Yeah, and I mean, even the henchmen in World's Strongest, I don't know, they felt like they had a little bit more presence, even though I think they probably only had like one or two lines, if that.
Well, what I would say it is, and I believe it's just the colors that, and each one had a specific power, where in this case it was just a unified kind of just, these silver robots. And they're unified, they all look the same, they barely speak, and that's that. And it's okay, I understand what they were going for, I just wasn't a huge fan of it.
Yeah, it's funny because even Cooler kind of points out the fact when in that opening line that he has, he says, "Oh, spare me the theatrics. You've made your demands quite clear. It's a shame my Cyclonian guards can't respond though. But honestly, what would you really expect them to say?"
Yes, it would something. I just wanted them to say something, Cooler. Just I wanted something. But what I will say, jumping back to because we brought up for a little bit the topic of, the comedy in this movie. And personally, I'm not saying I didn't like it, because I really did like it. I mean, you mentioned one of your favorite songs in the world, in this film. The robot song.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes, please sing it for us.
Okay. Cut and slice and chop them up. Cut and slice and chop. I have to be honest.
It was great.
That was probably the most memorable thing that I got from this film.
Oh, yeah, no, if Hugh Jackman sang that, he'd get a Tony. It was perfect. But what I think, though, is that, it's again, while there's a lot of funny stuff going on, and I know it's there to diffuse the tension, I feel like it wasn't needed to diffuse tension, everything was getting, what's going to happen here? And then as if to say, let's make sure that the kids feel happy, it's like, no, the kids were just fine without all of this comedy beforehand. Why is it only in this movie that we need so much of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, And
I mean, the fact of them, even after they get captured, Gohan, Krillin, and the rest of the crew too, they're captured and behind bars, and Yajirobe's, just about to get sliced up, and they're like, "Don't worry, we'll get you out of there." And he's like, "Don't worry, just take your time." It's like, you honestly, they didn't even Gohan and Krillin could have at least tried to break the fucking bars. I mean, how hard could they be?
Honestly, it's funny because I assume they were very hard to break because Cooler's energy was running through it. But at the same time,
I mean,
yes, they didn't. No,
obviously, they must have been, but it's like you could have at least show them, trying. No,
I agree, and that's a huge issue, But the fights were great, though. I mean, and it's kind of funny because in wrestling recently, both Tish Ram and I, who do the Raw recap, Monday Night Raw recaps and pay-per-view recaps. It's funny because we mentioned recently that the last pay-per-view, the wrestling was great on the card. So in this movie, the fights are great, but the problem is a bit of the story, and that's where it kind of throws us off, and where we'll say, this pay-per-view wasn't good. And for this movie, not that it wasn't good, but it just, again, the fights were great, but sadly, that's not all we can be sold on, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when the last, when the last movie had such a great story to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
one
I feel
thing
like...
Well, as you say?
Well, I was just going to say, I feel like Cooler kind of loses that piece of himself where he's coming to Earth to basically avenge his family name. There's no more mention of that. He gets a few more monkey lines, which was kind of like, oh, great, here we go.
Oh, I have that as a note. I actually, as a note, I put, and I quote, I put, Cooler called Vegeta a monkey. Q pissed Tristan. And I'm so happy that you got to mention it. That's beautiful. But I agree. It's just, it's just, he, like you said, he lost a bit of himself, and maybe that's what they were thinking. Maybe they were like, maybe that's what they were trying to push.
He's become
but
fully
really
mechanical. I guess he would kind of lose a part of his old self.
Yes.
I guess that.
But it's very
makes
interesting.
sense.
It's very funny, though. I would say it's very funny because there's no real way you can call attention to that, because usually we'll say, oh, explain it somehow. But there's no way Goku and Vegeta, Goku could say, damn it, Cooler, why are you being racist against the Saiyans? There was one point in your life we loved you. You were racist against everyone. Why can't you go back to being that man? It's just, so it's one of those things where we have to assume that, yes, he's lost a bit of himself. I have to say, though, I do enjoy the parallels because, as you mentioned, I believe it may have been the last podcast or the podcast before, in the last two DBZ movies or something, you mentioned that people always complain about it being the movies being a ripoff, right, of whatever, is going on in the story at the time.
What's going on in the anime. Yeah.
I disagree. I believe it's a mirror. It's a parallel to make you feel as if you're watching the anime at the time, you're getting that kind of story, just a different kind, and kind of, brought up to the big screen. So in this case, I do have to say that I do like the parallels between Cooler and Frieza, where Frieza could not die either. They're a family that will not choose death. They will go beyond death, even if they have to lose a piece of themselves to do it. And if you remember Frieza, he lost a lot of bits of himself.
Yeah. No, that's actually a good way of looking at it. I like that point.
Yeah, I enjoy it because, they just can't accept that. And they will do whatever they can. And then when they're back, they are stronger than ever, in theory. Because, technically, I believe if Goku, even at Super Saiyan, I feel as if Goku may have had some trouble with Frieza. Like, when he had first turns, if he had first turns, when he had first turn Super Saiyan, if he was at that exact power level, he would have had it would have been harder for him to fight a Mecha Frieza. Right?
Yeah.
That's how I personally feel. So even then, it was like, so Frieza did get stronger. It's just that Trunks was already a trained Super Saiyan, so he could easily dispose of Frieza. Yeah. Especially when Frieza wasn't trying his hardest, I'm sure. Because he,
exactly.
Yeah. So, and
that's
Cooler,
the other
though,
thing I kind of wanted to say. Because,
what?
When they make Mecha Frieza, he comes back, he's supposed to be more stronger now. Trunks comes along, Super Saiyan, still kicks his ass. I mean, I know you said you felt Metacooler was a bit overpowered, and I can agree with that on a certain level, but I feel like that was kind of a cool thing to have because it says, oh, he's Metacooler now. Supposedly he has an upgrade. Oh, shit. He wasn't bluffing. He did get stronger.
No.
Holy shit.
Well, it's funny because, you look at the first movie as well, and you see that he has another form past Frieza's form.
Yeah.
Right? So the same thing happens here, where technically, even though he's still, mechanical like Frieza was, he's gone full mechanical. He's gone full native, right? And he's just now this, this completely superior being. And while I said he was overpowered, I only mention it because, they had to make him overpowered. When he's supposed to fight two Super Saiyans, you have to do something.
Yeah.
It just obviously became too much. It's one of those things where you have to. When someone wants to turn Super Saiyan early in the movie, which they realize, okay, we can't have Goku turn Super Saiyan in the last 5 minutes again. So when they're going to make him turn Super Saiyan halfway through the film, they have to have something that gives Cooler the edge, Right. And then they want to introduce Vegeta, so they have to give him, and of course Vegeta, by the way, best appearance ever, because here's why. There's some other stuff I want to mention, but I still have to jump to Vegeta because he's just that good. This is the first film, like, Vegeta appears, right, in the first film that he's ever been in. And you know what? He does what every person in the series should do. He goes Super Saiyan immediately. Vegeta gets the job done. I mean, he was almost killed immediately, but still.
Well, yeah. But he did get a good shot in.
Like, Vegeta gets
he
the
knows
job
how to make
done
it
before he dies. What was that?
No, Vegeta knows how to make an entrance. You kick the villain straight in the face.
Exactly. I mean,
he doesn't even say, Kakarot, duck, or anything. Nope, just immediately kicks Cooler straight in the face.
Oh, yeah, and it was silly to do anything else. I mean, why would you not turn Super Saiyan immediately? Well, what's your problem? You would be stupid not to. And that's why
I was going to say. That's what I was going to say to your comment from the last film, like, why didn't Goku go Super Saiyan, within the first few moments of the fight? That's what I felt like with this movie, because he knows Cooler is that powerful.
Yes,
it's like, you fought him before.
Why...
You know what it takes to beat him. Why didn't you transform, like, right away?
Well, and that's the issue. I feel as if he did transform, but I think the problem is that you have to look at Super Saiyan, the transformation, like any other film's actual plot, where in the plot, it's not just going to start off with a gunshot, it's going to, and if it does, it'll work its way back. So it's going to work its way in the beginning and then kind of get to the peak, and then either fall down or only fall a bit. So we need to get to its peak. So Super Saiyan is the peak, basically.
Yeah.
So sadly, as writers, they can't just start off with Super Saiyan, but it becomes an issue because you want them to, because it's Super Saiyan. It's an easy way to get. They gave them hacks, right? And they're choosing not to use them. Also, by the way, if you're listening to our podcast and you want to call in to talk about this movie, definitely do. Please do. The number is 718-664-9468. Again, the number is 718-664-9468. Definitely call in. We would love to hear from you. I mean, did you like this movie? Talk about it with us. If you didn't, I understand. Talk to us about it. We would love to talk to you. Also, by the way, we mentioned the soundtracks a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is actually one of the first. Yes, this is actually one of the first films that didn't use that, that hard rock track.
Yeah.
And it was a nice track, by the way. It was actually kind of sci-fi, right? It kind of had these sci-fi feels to it.
Yeah, it had these, soft guitar riffs, and it was kind of cool. And I see why they, did it, basically like you said with the whole sci-fi effect. But it felt lacking compared to the last soundtrack that they had.
You see, and that's why I feel as if budget came in, because I don't know about you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and I feel as if the budget came in, and because if you noticed, they did put in harder rock soundtracks for Broly. So I'm wondering if they realized their errors and then put the money into it. But as of right now, I don't know why. I think everyone involved in the American production of this film thought, That's my personal opinion. That's my opinion. Where I'm not even saying that it cost that much less, to get someone to compose, these songs, but I'm assuming it didn't cost as much as it did to get all of these different bands together to put music in each and every one.
Yeah, or
also,
even to get
permission
to use the songs.
I would like to say this to you, though. I don't think a band would fit.
Yeah, I guess I could understand that.
I mean, I will admit, I don't know if I would have been the one to put in, different kinds of bands and different types of music into the other films that we've seen so far. But at the same time, I will admit that I couldn't think of a song or any songs that would really fit into this film, other than maybe some weird, creepy, let's say, carnival band or something. I say carnival only because it's Metacooler, but something about it just seems so weird and eerie that I think carnival.
Okay. Yeah,
but other than that, I wouldn't. Also, I don't know if you noticed this. Some of the soundtrack was recycled into some of the games.
For this movie, or?
It's only...
the soundtrack from this movie was recycled in the game?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. I don't know. Yes, I don't know. Again, this isn't confirmed, but if you listen to some of the fights, like Gohan when he was fighting some of the robots, some of the music sounded like it was from sagas, where it's like da-na, da-na, na, na, na. I feel as if, or it's not sagas and possibly from the show itself. Maybe Bruce Faulkner sampled it, or vice versa. The composer of this movie sampled something from the show itself. The composer of this movie, by the way, for the American version, being, where are you, good sir? American composer. I know you. You're here. Mark Menza. Mark Menza is the English language. He composed the score for the English language version. And maybe he sampled, or maybe Bruce Faulkner sampled. Either way, someone took something from someone, because I've heard that before, and you have too.
Yeah.
Like, definitely go back and listen to it, and you'll definitely pick it up.
Okay.
Yes. But jumping back a bit, because we jumped to Frieza. We jumped to Vegeta. But jumping back a bit, what did you think about the Goku Metacooler fight?
Like, from the beginning?
Yes, because as overall, because personally I felt that, it was a bit repetitive.
Yeah, I mean, it started out pretty cool. They had, Cooler's dialogue actually wasn't half bad. I felt like they still basically kept to his character. Especially
Cooler, you've managed to somehow speak better as a robot. How do you do it? But yeah, I don't know. I feel as if, when I say repetitive, by the way, I mean, of course they threw in little wrenches here and there to keep revamping itself, with the instant transmission scene that I'm a fan of. But something about the fighting did make me think, wow. I don't know. It didn't wow me like crazy. Honestly, I feel as if the robots wowed me more because of the interesting ways they were able to take them down.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say about the robot army too. Even if the the Z fighters could take them down one at a time, numbers still overwhelm. And I mean, they even prove that with Goku and Vegeta. I mean, you have two Super Saiyans here. That's quite a force to go up against. But if you throw enough guys at them all at once, still only two men you're fighting here. So numbers are going to win out eventually.
Yeah, that's quite true. Also, speaking of Piccolo, it's funny how before I mentioned that everyone seemed underpowered, right? They seemed weak. And then you look at Piccolo in this one scene where he blows up the entire army, and now I think he's a bit too overpowered. And it's
I was actually going to say that Piccolo does more damage to New Namek than I felt the robots or Cooler did, for God's sakes. I mean, he blows a fucking crater in it.
I just saved the world. I'm dying. But seriously, no, it's true. I agree with that 100%. But the thing is, the reason why I feel like he's overpowered is because, I mean, they've made references to the fact that this is probably, obviously it's Dende's, the guardian of the earth. Clearly Piccolo has absorbed Kami. But it's just very strange because he's basically like a Super Namek, as Krillin joked in the dub, and he's a Super Namek. So why, so it's strange how immediately when he sees Metacooler, it's just death, or close to what we thought was death for a split. Again, by the way, it's like twice in a row, man. Just for some reason, Cooler does not like the Namekian. But yeah, it's just weird because it's just, I don't know. It's just like, I know Goku's the main character, but come on.
Yeah, I feel like they could have given the other characters a little more, fight in them.
Yeah. And then, now, we jump forward, right? We jump farther in the movie. Unless, before we jump to, Goku and Vegeta's fight, do you have any kind of notes, anything you want to just, throw in there before we jump?
No, I think we can jump.
So we jump, right? And the fight between Goku and Vegeta and Cooler are really cool. No pun intended. But I would like to say that No, I would like to say that.
I was wondering how
Goku,
long we would take before we made a cooler pun.
I have other ones. But anyway, when Goku and Vegeta powered up together, you know when they powered up together?
Yeah.
That I find that scene to be iconic. I think that everyone involved in making that scene, should be pat them on the back.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
I don't know, something about them both just standing there powering up, to fight all these coolers that are sliding down the hill. It's just a beautiful thing.
That was beautiful.
If there's one thing to take from this movie, other than chop them up, cut them up, it's that.
It's that. Yes, it's definitely that. I mean, even before they get to that point, when Vegeta first enters and they're fighting,
right.
I still did like some of that combat, and I know the dual charge that they both do against the one Metacooler, they both, blast through him. And,
right.
Goku breaks his arm off again, and Vegeta probably, blows his torso in half. And then they stop for a second. Oh, wait, he's regenerating. Turn around and blast him. Thank you very much. And, they blast him, and he's still, piecing himself back together. And Vegeta doesn't stop. He's like, why won't you die? And he just keeps fucking blasting him until he's pieces. Now that's how you finish off an enemy. Especially one who regenerates.
As he's regenerating, God, it's like we're fighting a freaking Namekian. I'm right here, guys.
And the other thing I wanted to point out, kind of keep Cooler's character, brutal. Because, as I pointed out in the first movie, Cooler gets shit done. Compared to Frieza, he does not, Frieza will kick you and you'll be down on your knees, and then he'll just go on this entire rant about how he's, so powerful and he's amazing, and he's like, oh, you should kiss my feet, I am your king, blah, blah, blah. No, Cooler knees you in the stomach and then shoots you in the head, and then he gloats. He makes sure you're down.
And then your corpse falls, obviously slumped over onto its knees, and he says, and now you're bowing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Cooler.
I mean, you even have the picture up in the stream that's going on during the podcast where Cooler is holding Goku by the throat.
Yes, I'm happy you're able to. I'm happy you're able to see that. Yes, I'm unable to see it. I'm using the soundboard right now, but yes, I wanted that picture in there, if only because not only was it available, but it just looks amazing. It shows his brute power. Speaking of that scene, thank you for reminding me. The way he choked Goku, and you heard as he's bringing energy to his own fingers, to take the air out of Goku's lungs, and Goku is just sitting there, my God, the way they made Shimo gurgle, just I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, that was amazing. It was terrifying because, the Cooler is actually going for one of the most brutal kills that I could think of. He's going to crush Goku's windpipe. He's not going to beat him to death. He's not going to stab him. He's not going to shoot an energy ray through him. No, he's going to break his fucking neck.
Yeah, just, hey, do your senzu bean help you with this?
Yeah.
Just, Goku's like, I don't know. Let me see. Oh, sure. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You tried to fool the supercomputer. But speaking of being a super,
I was going to say even with Vegeta, when Vegeta gets him off Goku, and then Vegeta gets himself kicked in the face, and he comes back. But Cooler grabs Vegeta by the face now, and he's charging up an energy blast, and he's basically going to blow Vegeta's fucking head off.
Vegeta's sitting there with his eyes wide open, not even thinking, this is the last moment I die, I'll never see Bulma again. Sitting there thinking, why did I never think of this? This would have been brilliant. But sadly, I've been the pussy that's been eating people. This isn't much voice to me. Leave the corpses for the family. Just honest.
And
it's one of those.
I like the fact that they still kept that.
So, moving forward, we're reaching the end here, actually. So speaking of being a supercomputer, Cooler has them, wrapped up, right, in the wires, and then he explains his entire life fucking story to them. Now, I really feel is filler, just because it's like the way they just do the entire thing and how long-winded Cooler is. It's just one of those things where it's like everything has to be a long monologue. Like, Cooler, are you okay? You're kind of hunched over. Yes, I'm sorry, I have a stomachache. It was from a burrito I ate 3 days ago. You know, just flashing through. You know, I was on my way to Intergalactic Taco Bell. That was my first mistake. You know, I was just, I'm sitting here just thinking, all right, so everything is just, because he's already had technically he had one flashback, right? And then he has this, where he's like, I am the Getty Star. Dun, dun.
Yeah, I guess that's what they were going for, like the, oh my God, but it's like, he could have done that, you know, along with the flashback of, oh yeah, I died, but this is how I came back.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. Obviously, it was for shock value, which worked, because at first you thought Cooler was beatable, and now it's just, you know what's even worse, I think, is that he was made to seem even more unbeatable, like with this flashback, until he was beatable, only about 2 minutes later.
That's the other thing that I don't like about that scene, is that Cooler had an entire army of Metacoolers fighting Goku and Vegeta out on that cliff face. He could have, for all intents and purposes, killed them right there. No question. He could have killed them. Both. Dead.
Yeah, I think it's just his hubris, and it's very upsetting because he didn't really he had that in the first film, but he was still, like you said, he took care of business enough to say, you know, I am possibly the most overconfident being in the universe, but I'll still kill you just in case.
Yeah.
You know, where in this movie it's, I am so overconfident that it doesn't matter. I will take you into my own lair, in my own heart. Hey. Look, over here, and it's like, this is my core. I was like, no,
there it is. Right there in front of you.
Yeah, yes. Also,
if
speaking
you
of
want to
puns,
blast
by the
it,
way.
go ahead. Do it right now.
Yeah. Speaking of puns, by the way, I mentioned puns a bit earlier. I'd like to quote a line from Cooler. Let's just say I have decided to extract my revenge. Fuck you, Cooler. You become metal and all of a sudden you think you can make puns? Fuck you. All right?
Yeah.
The last movie he was just fine, right? All of a sudden he becomes metal and he thinks he's a pun expert. What? Like what? What are they doing to you? What are they implanting for the Getty Star? A book of puns? Shut up. You know, just kill them.
That must be the big Getty Star.
yeah. The big Getty Star is actually a test. It's all been controlled by King fucking Kai.
Oh.
You know.
Oh God, my mind. Oh God.
King Kai controlled the big Getty Star. You know, from the planet the little planet because he has nothing else to do.
No, it was an order down from Supreme Kai. They had to keep the order of the universe intact, and since old Namek was technically destroyed, they couldn't have a new Namek somewhere else in the middle of the galaxy because it messed with the whole universe's feng shui. How's that for you?
I want to abridge this movie immediately. And I understand that Team 4-Star exists, and I love their work, but we are going to abridge this movie immediately. Don't call me. I'll call you.
Okay.
Right?
But wait, if I do Cooler, do I have to, you know, make like more puns for him? Because I don't know if I could do that.
I don't know. I guess if Cooler likes puns, I don't even know why you'd want to do Cooler. But hey, if you're into it, if you're into metal, like, you know, if you like robots, hey, good for you, man. You know what that reminds me of? A really weird reference. Are you a fan of American Dad by any chance?
I've seen a little bit of it, yeah.
Well, there was an episode where both Steve and Roger the alien had to write porno. And they were writing for some pornos, and basically whenever Steve got the chance, he basically made something sci-fi. So it'd just be like two girls in a hot tub, and then immediately one of them would be a robot.
Oh,
and all of a sudden Roger goes, hey, come on, you know the director. He's not a fan of sci-fi stuff. And Steven just screams at him, where do people get that robots are erotic? And that's how I feel right now. Just hey, man, if you're into robots, good for you, you know.
Oh,
but seriously though, speaking of, you mentioned, we both mentioned how, Cooler shouldn't have really brought them into, his secret lair where he can easily be killed, right? What's really a fun thing to bring up too is the fact that he did that, and it's just, I just felt as if the ending dragged on so much because of, the fact that now the fight is in here in a place where not only they should they have not been in, a place where they shouldn't have been in. Also now, it's like as if Cooler forgot how to be smart. Because, you think, because immediately he took on too much energy he could handle. And then you thought that was going to be the end. Because honestly, I thought that would have been the perfect ending. But no, now we have to have them use energy blasts to cut up parts of him because they somehow have energy left. And then to blow up his core.
Yep.
It's one of those things where it's just, if there was a core, then there was never really any danger. And I feel as if, I don't know, and it sucks because they were, with the energy draining thing, they were on their way to have a really cool way of beating Cooler. Pun wasn't intended. So I just feel as if, I don't know, I mean, I don't know. There's just, I felt like it dragged on. And then by the time everything, was over and done with, it just felt like that, that 7 minutes could have been actually condensed. Because I checked. It was 7 minutes from the exact moment they were, caught in the Getty Star till the end.
Right.
I feel as if that could have been 4 minutes, 3 minutes even.
Yeah.
There was just,
you're
right.
It
felt as if things went on for a bit too long.
I mean, it was basically the whole, to really bring to light what I guess they were going for here, it's basically to show that, the old-time lesson that evil never learns from its mistakes, Cooler. But, I mean, it doesn't fit with Cooler's character because he is smarter than that. I mean, yes, he is overconfident because he is powerful. They always are, and they always will be. But Cooler is not this stupid.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem.
I mean, Goku even says to Cooler, he even has a line that says, "Wasn't that the same mistake you made last time? I figured you would have learned by now."
Yes, exactly.
And then, Goku
I guess you can argue. He was just so overpowered in this movie that, when you think you're that powerful, you just, you don't focus on, it's the same thing happened a bit with, Dr. Octavius, Otto, Dr. Octopus, when he went into Spider-Man's, when he actually won and he became the superior Spider-Man, he also made a lot of stupid mistakes that I found very, stupid, and I thought it was very upsetting. But at the same time, you could argue that, he won. So now that he is in Spider-Man's body, he can do whatever he wants to. They were nice things. He was a superhero, but he was doing it in a very villainous way, right? Same thing here in a way where I guess you can only assume that because he got all this power, he let it get to his head. It's just one of those upsetting things where, obviously I'm sure you would argue that he already had a lot of power, and he was still smart. So
exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he lost a chunk of his brain.
Yeah,
I know it sounds like a joke, but I wouldn't be surprised if he lost a chunk of his brain. It would be.
That's the only thing I can think of. He must have.
Clearly,
he absolutely must have.
Yeah, I mean, what else can we say? So, how would you rate this film? I don't know if we actually rated the last one, but I think the last one I would have given like an 8, I believe.
Yeah, no, we did rate the last one. I gave the last one a 10, actually. I know you.
I think I gave it a 9.
You either gave it an 8 or a 9, but I definitely gave the last one a 10 because, I'm probably a little biased, but it is my favorite movie, so I had to go with a 10.
Okay. And then what about this one?
This one.
Can we use negative numbers?
No, I wouldn't go that far, but it's definitely going to take a big hit. I'd probably give it a 5 or a 6.
So if you give it a 5 or a 6, that means you're bringing down the rating of the first Cooler movie when you put them together. So you're saying your actual rating for the first Cooler movie is less than a 10?
Well, if you put them together, yes, but I don't like to do that.
Yes, it's kind of funny. I remember I said to you last week I wanted to do a 2-hour special with you with both movies, and you just denied me. You're like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, screw you too, Tristan. It was just no.
I'm sorry.
And then after seeing both, yeah, he just couldn't. It was as if it was against his religion. just I'm sorry, man. Can't do, not on Sundays, man. Sorry, no. Every Sunday I watch. Cooler's Revenge. I can't do it, man. It's a holiday, man. It's a religious holiday. Can't do it. Yeah. By 6 p.m. every Saturday, I just can't watch. I can't do any podcasts on Return of Cooler. I'm sorry. I just can't. But here we are. We're at the end of our podcast. Any closing things you want to say? Any closing funny jokes?
There is one thing I wanted to ask you. This is just like for fun. Do you think it would have been? Oh wow! I almost walked into the same pun you did. Oh, might as well. Do you think it would have been cooler if Cooler had been in his, I believe, technically his last, where he had the spikes out of his head? That was his fourth transformed state.
I think it would have been. It would have been a cool design, but it also would have looked very clunky. I think I liked that he stayed. He looked like that new and improved Cooler. Where if he had become that huge, same thing with Frieza. Where Frieza had used 100% power, being Mecha, it would have looked too clunky.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah,
I just figured I'd ask for
really cool design. No, it would have been great to, let's say, Photoshop. Like, if someone can Photoshop that would look great, right? But as an actual design, like, in motion, it would look like he would, like, let's say, lose his speed,
Yeah.
Yes. But anyway, that's a good thing to bring up, though, because I didn't ever even thought about that.
Yeah, I actually didn't think about it until now, too, but, like, when I was watching it, I'm like, why didn't they make him a mecha in his, his final stage?Ouldn't he have been even more powerful? And,
He would have, but I think they were just trying to make it so that there was no more powerful. It was just this. Like, this is the highest you can go to.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you that, the sleek and shiny, new and improved look, in his regular form, it fits better. You're right.
What I think is really cool is I wonder what he looked like before.
Oh, like before his final stage?
Yes. Yeah. Because, he's had other stages, obviously. He's just, like, staying at them. Yeah. Think about that one, kid. But anyway, but I would like to thank you guys for listening to those guys. Definitely like us on Facebook, those guys on the radio via the URL. And if you wanted to search up those guys. We do a lot of different shows. I mentioned earlier in this podcast, we do, Monday Night Raw on Mondays. Whenever there's a pay-per-view, we do, whatever pay-per-view it is for, wrestling. Mostly it's just me and Stitch Ram doing that, but of course, call in. We'd love to hear from you if you're a fan. Every week you're going to have Tristan and I doing DVD movies. Currently we're at the 6th one, so obviously we've been doing this for a while now. We have some of our, episodes in the archive. Definitely check us out. Definitely like our Facebook, because we'll always promote our show. Even if it's on the same day, we'll always promote our show, and you'll know what we're doing that day. So definitely check us out. We're all around the place, aren't we? We've even done How I Met Your Mother at one point. You weren't there. You didn't go
but I heard about it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you watched How I Met Your Mother, you should definitely check it out. Did you actually watch How I Met Your Mother, Tristan?
I've seen a few episodes, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to listen to it. But if you actually watch a lot of it, like let's say on Netflix or something, totally watch. But yeah, definitely buy these films. I don't know if you're, speaking of Dragon Ball Z, I don't know if you're a fan of Funimation even, but just understand that there are, subtitled versions on there, and they have released, if you're not a fan of the quality of, the DVDs, they've released Blu-ray versions, which look wonderful. And just, support them. Hey, we have the new movie coming out to theaters in August. The newest movie, Battle of the Gods, is coming to theaters in August. We have, which I assume since it's a limited run will mean that possibly in the fall we'll get the DVD out. We have, we have Dragon Ball Z Kai or Dragon Ball Kai, whichever you want to call it, airing on Tsunami soon. Soon, right?
Yeah, I believe it's going to be in a few months, maybe?
Okay, so in the fall, but still, sooner than we'd think. And, it's great, it's a good time to be a Dragon Ball Z fan, I'd say.
Yep, definitely.
So long as they don't try to make
It's always a good time to be a DBZ fan.
So long as they don't try to make a follow-up to Dragon Ball Evolution, I think we're fine.
Get Smith. God.
Yep, that shouldn't be the note that we're ending it on.